I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Hornady Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Swerczek, and really excited about today's topic because it's one of my favorite things to do. Sit around and talk to my friends, Preston Lentfer, Matt Ritchie from the marketing department. Guys, thanks for coming on the show.
I thought you were going to say riding a dirt bike or something.
That's fun, too. Talking to you guys is also fun, although I embellished that it's one of my favorite things to do, because what really is one of my favorite things to do is hunt antelopes.
That's probably my favorite thing to do.
Yep.
It is quite delightful.
Hunting antelope.
And the meat is the best meat of all the game meat.
We're going to just start with controversy.
Yeah.
We're going to start the controversy right here. Listener, you fall into two camps. Either you think antelope is the best game meat in North America, or you're wrong.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like the way you phrased that.
For sure.
To really set them up there. Now, this is an internal debate around the office, completely unrelated to what the topic that we have for the show today is. However, it is somewhat related because I feel like there's a good portion of the office that is under the wrong assumption. I'm not sure if social media got to them or what, that elk is the superior game meat over antelope.
I think that's maybe just lore, right, at this point.
Yeah, people just regurgitate it because they heard it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I've had some really, really good whitetails.
I've had, very
good.
Yeah, and to me, elk tastes like just a big whitetail.
Yep.
They're just bigger.
I think if you can take care of that animal, though, well, and this is kind of what I found, because we live in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
I hunt on the eastern side of Nebraska. There's whitetails there. I have found
whitetails on the west side.
Yeah, they're everywhere. But I think if you can hang and age a whitetail, it is 10 times better than one that you quickly, put into the freezer.
Then they're definitely better than mule deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all agree on that.
Yeah. So,
and don't get me wrong. One of Seth's favorite things to hunt in the world is a mule deer.
Oh, yeah.
We all love hunting a mule deer.
And I eat them.
I'd rather have whitetail.
I'd rather have whitetail. And given the option between whitetail or elk, to me, it really doesn't matter whatever I have freezer space for because they taste the same to me. Antelope over elk. I think we're all in unanimous decision that the sweet, tender cuts of an antelope are just better.
It's got a flavor unlike anything I've ever had before. I don't know how to describe it. You get an antelope backstrap, and you cut that thing into a steak. There's almost like I dare say, sweetness.
That's why I said sweet. I pick it up too. And there's nothing better than going out there, killing an animal, and then actually using that meat to feed your family. It's obviously the circle of life. I just wish that, antelope were the size of elk.
Yeah.
They are fantastic. And now, before I don't know what you'd call that. I was going to say divulge to the actual topic. But while we're in the divulged portion, before we pivot to the real topic, I think it's important to note that of the three of us, you hear all these horror stories about antelope not tasting super great and they taste like sage and they're blah, 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 blah. Heard all those stories. I think the collective decision the collective idea is that it's probably post-kill care that creates that. I don't think either of you have ever experienced a nasty tasting antelope.
No.
That's correct. But every one that I've ever shot has had the hide off of it within 15 minutes.
And on ice. Right away.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Could be just our experience. Either way, would love to hear from the listener. Drop a comment here. Are you an antelope or are you an elk guy?
Or a deer.
What's
your favorite North American game meat?
Yep. Now, you start introducing some exotics into the equation. Nilgai, axis deer, stuff like that. Not necessarily an apples to apples comparison.
Well, let's say, a North American
native.
That was their home.
Yeah.
Native species.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll definitively answer the elk antelope conundrum.
Well, yeah, you can answer it in the comments, but we just answered it right here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's pivot to the real topic.
Everybody's an expert in their own opinion.
Yep.
I would think the internet needs to hear that more often.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to something that we can answer definitively, and that's let's talk about antelope hunting and maybe some of the the nuance that goes into really selecting the right cartridge, the right bullet combination for your antelope hunt. It's again, we've all shared this. It's one of our favorite hunts.
Yep.
And what makes it for you guys? What makes it one of your favorite hunts?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I mean, I can. Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. I just because I've only been one time, and that was last year. So just the sheer number, depending on where you go, the sheer number of animals that you're going to see. Like we looked the one morning that I shot my buck on. I think we looked at probably 15 to 18 different bucks in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And you really get a chance to judge that animal, look at, how high their prongs are. What about mass? How far do their hooks go back? All of that stuff, really, and pick them apart. And then, no, we can find something better. And we just go to a different part of the ground we were on, And so with a couple extra other guys, and it was just a great time. Fun, looking at different animals, judging them, seeing the volume of them. And then it was during the rut, and so they're chasing and, running does. And, it was just a great time. The weather's nice, nicer.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
But just the volume of animals, depending on where you're at, that you see, and just being able to
hang out
pick
with
them
your
apart.
boys.
Yep, hang out and have a good time. So
Just a
good
bunch
answer.
of good dudes.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Preston, what makes antelope hunting one of your favorite hunts?
Well, number one, you might know where this is going. It's west of here.
Yeah.
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 So I'm a big fan of that. Anytime I get to go west of where we are currently at, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
I love the game meat. I've been on hunts where you don't get to look at a lot of antelope.
Or if you do, they're all on private property.
Yeah, I've done that before. But, I've had the opportunity to hunt on private. I've had the opportunity to hunt on public. And there's a variety thing, So if I know I'm going out public land hunting, maybe I want to be able to get a few extra days in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, sure.
So I can really try and find an antelope that's worth pursuing. And then other times, if it's a private land deal, like we've got, 3 down and, a day and a half, and we looked at all of them. Right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
just, on private land, sometimes you can just drive right by them. And they just,
Generally,
they'll
if
just stand
you
there.
do drive right by them, and if you stop the truck, that's when
Maybe,
out of here.
maybe not.
Yeah.
But the public land hunts I've been on, it's like if they see a moving something else
From 900
they're
yards away.
gone, right?
Yeah.
They have incredible eyesight. You don't have to get up super early, which I don't really mind anyway.
Yeah.
The first time we went hunting, we were up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
Probably
Or-
didn't need to be.
well, probably
but-
because we couldn't sleep because we were in a tent
yeah,
that eventually blew over.
and it was windy.
Yeah.
Quite windy.
Yeah.
But that was a cool experience. I love going out west.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a taxing hunt. It can be if you want it to be.
Yeah.
I've certainly been parched and away from, the truck and out of water and stuff like that. But it's just, it's a great introduction into a Western style of hunt.
Yep.
Because when we grew up, we sat in a spot,
Yep,
and then the deer would come or they
Yep.
wouldn't. This you go find them.
Yep.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it the most fun for me as well, is that it's, I don't want to say leisurely, but you can make it as leisurely or as difficult as you want, and you just move your expectations to, what's fitting, what kind of land you're hunting, what the numbers look like, what the pressure looks like, etc. And I think what makes it the most fun is you've got that going on where you're going to see, even if they're on private property and you don't have access to it or whatever, you're going to see antelope. Like that one particular hunt you and I were on, where we saw a antelope buck
Got it.
on public land, and it was a mental grind, but we still saw dozens upon dozens of antelope. They were just in areas that we couldn't go. And it's still a successful hunt. We still had an awesome time. We still had some really good pizza there out of Lusk.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like typically it's good weather, so you
Yeah.
can tent camp. You can get a hotel normally.
bounce
nearby.
around.
It's just it's a free flowing kind of hunt.
Yeah,
you don't have to have a elaborate plan.
Right.
Right.
So I think that's one of the most enjoyable parts of it. And then the real reason is when we've done antelope hunts, like Matt just mentioned, the first antelope hunt that we went on, for example, the first antelope hunt I took my dad on, or the most recent antelope hunt I took my dad on, it's so much fun because we don't get to go out and hang out for a week super often recreating, right? Like just hanging out.
Hardly ever.
When you get that opportunity, it's fun to enjoy it, and I put so much pressure on myself on, say mule deer, for example, of what's the plan, what's plan B if that one gets blown up, what's plan C, where have I seen deer, how many, there's so much mental geometry that goes into it. The antelope hunting, they're out there. I'll just go find them where they're at because they're out there.
They are where you'll find them.
Yeah. Yep, you'll find them where they're at, as my dad would say.
Yep.
Anyways, and so there's not a lot of pressure and there's not a lot of stress, and that really allows you to just take a deep breath. And I think back to my first antelope hunt, I had that same kind of stress that I had for, like, say, a mule deer hunt, and then I quickly learned, like, we opened the tent, the sun came up, and you went, well, there's some over there.
There's some there too.
And then we tried to go on a stalk because we were like 1,200 yards away and went like 10 feet, and then they all ran off. And we turned around and we're like, well, there's some over there. Maybe we'll crouch down. So there's a lot of stress removed just because of that.
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about too is, like, there's not a lot of pressure, right? The places that I've hunted are not typical high scoring antelope places, right? So if I get to see a antelope, okay, that's fine. I've shot some smaller antelope. Don't really care because I'm not in a place that historically grows huge antelope.
Yeah. And maybe that's part of the game that you play with yourself. You do your leisurely hunts and whatever. And then, you cruise some points, and then you get into a really, trophy area or whatever, and, you maybe take it more serious. But I'm a big breakfast food guy, big breakfast man. And just this last trip, me and Dad, with archery equipment, went out chasing some antelope, staying in a cabin. Okay, well, we wake up, get the coffee pot going. I'm going to fry some potatoes. I don't eat fried potatoes, but I'm going to fry some potatoes with onions and butter, fry some eggs, bacon, the whole spread.
A little corned beef hash.
Oh, that would be good. Dad loves corned beef hash. Anyway, and we can enjoy that big meal, wash the dishes. Antelope aren't going anywhere. They'll be there when we get there. And it's not like they bed down in the timber in the middle of the day. They'll be there when we get there. So we can enjoy a good breakfast and get out there and just have a good time. And removing the pressure of, I have to shoot an antelope, or they're so hard to find, I only got this little window at sun up and sundown to really find them. To me, public land or private land, it's just one of the more fun, relaxing hunts to share with somebody. And sometimes, I haven't done this yet, but it's on my to-do list, sometimes you need to share that time with yourself. Sometimes it's fun to just go by your lonesome and go do something like that. And that would also, compared to, say, something like mule deer, you're not going to have a hard time finding the animals. At least you're seeing something, you're doing something. So I don't say all that to say it's fun. And if you haven't hunted antelope, now's about the worst time to think that you want to get into it. It's harder to get tags. Over-the-counter tags are pretty much a thing of the past, and it's getting more expensive. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it. So for the listener who is thinking about hunting antelope, if you live in a state that have antelope in it, you have no excuse. You need to be out there. It is one of the more fun and enjoyable hunts you're going to have with some of the best game meat this country has to offer. And if you live on the eastern half where they don't reside, take a look at some opportunities. Nebraska's a great opportunity state for the non-resident for antelope.
We're limited now, though.
Yeah, it is limited, but Wyoming's still fantastic. They got more antelope than people in that state. Definitely two places that I'd consider to get your foot in the door to get antelope hunting, because it is one of the more fun things to do.
Tags are down, though. Numbers are down. So point, maybe it's point creep, but I just think tags are down.
Yeah, they're removing the amount of tags, and there's still people that want to participate, so it just takes more points to get the tag.
First place we went, drew it with 0 points.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 or 3 now at least.
Yeah. And I would not waste 2 or 3 points to go to that unit.
I might. I always say no, like this. What a disaster. And then I might.
So it's
just right there.
We've each hunted it twice.
Yeah.
And it got progressively worse over the years. And it was an area not affected by that big winter die-off. So I'm not sure what's going on, but either way.
Maybe it'll boom again. Everything's cyclical.
It is cyclical.
There's no better time to stock your reloading bench and light up your range with Hornady Get Loaded Plus. New this year, free bullets or free cases when you buy these select Hornady reloading tools. Plus, receive the free HIT Target Impact Indicator. Hornady Get Loaded Plus. Free bullets, free cases, free HIT Target Impact Indicator. Get loaded and light it up with Hornady Get Loaded Plus. Limitations apply. Visit Hornady.com/getloaded2025 for further details.
So when we're talking about antelope, we're talking about how it's fun and kind of leisurely. I want to hear you guys, though, talk a little bit about your criteria for antelope on size. You know, we're not pros at field judging antelope, right? Like, okay, you show me a white-tailed deer, I can very quickly give you a ballpark of what age class and maybe how many inches are on his head. With an antelope, I really need to study it, and I feel like that's one of the things that I need to get better at. But man, with bone scoping ability, I use the MagView. A bunch of people are using All-In now. You can really go to all these places and just take inventory of what antelope are out there, take a photo of them, put it in your Onyx, and you can go back that night and sort through and really measure them. But what are you guys looking for on an antelope to say, okay, yeah, I'm going after that one?
I don't know. For me, it's just if he gets me excited, right? Sometimes it's if he's an antelope and he's in my unit, right?
I think he's the only one there.
But typically, the school of thought is you go in this order. You look first for mass, you look secondly at the prong, and then height, believe it or not, is last, because that's how they're scored, right?
Okay.
So you get a measurement for the length of the horn. You get a measurement for the length of the prong from the back to the front, and then mass. You get 4 different mass measurements. So mass is a big deal. So that's why it's the first thing you look at when antelope hunting is if it's got good mass. That's the order. You're still looking. Okay. It's a possibility.
So if you go take inventory of the antelope in your area that you're able to hunt, and you're going back through your photos, you're looking for mass, then prongs, then height.
That's right.
Matt,
I would say with the height deal too. You, at least what I've heard or been told, you want that prong to start above the tip of the ear, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you
that's
want him to cut.
Yeah. Yep.
If he gets there, you know he's definitely a looker.
Yep.
Yeah.
But for sure, mass, and then the size of those hooks, or not hooks, but the prongs. Yeah.
Preston already said it. I was setting it up because I think we're all in this camp. Antelope for me are super fun to hunt, and I'm not really caught up in the size. Every antelope I've ever killed outside of the first one, which was like, oh, there's a buck in our unit, cool. I thought it was going to be way more difficult to find antelope than it actually was. But every antelope after that is, oh, that one looks cool. Yep.
Yeah,
sure.
There's just, there's no points awarded for width. But man, if you get a tall goat that's got some width on it and it just looks cool, throw a little bit of mass in there and it just looks like it's got the cock of the walk, right? Mm-hmm. So although width isn't a measured category, to me,
things are great.
Yeah, when an antelope has the look, it's like, okay, that one might not score as good, but I like the way it looks.
One in a unit that we couldn't hunt that one time, one horn was exactly like it's supposed to. The other one was
straightforward. Yeah.
Right. It was very, very cool. Seen one with the typically they'll hook back. Seen one with the hooks forward. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was over an 80-inch goat.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
and I couldn't get him.
So it's fun. It can be as difficult or as easy as you want to make it. There's lots of public land opportunities. And even on the private land side of things, I feel like antelope is still one of those animals where getting private land access is a little bit easier than something, say, for an elk or for a deer. I've talked to a lot of ranchers. Matt, you probably worked for several of them that have these big, expansive ranches, and they got hay fields or wheat fields or whatever. It's like they're not particular fans of antelope. So if you came knocking on the door to hunt mule deer, might not be in the cards. If you come knocking on the door, can I hunt antelope for the day? I just saw a bunch on your pasture. They'll probably, why are you even asked? Get out there, Yeah. I don't know. That's just the way I perceive it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so. I think, the people that live amongst them are almost like
immune,
numb to them, right? It's not that big of a deal to them. just because they see them all the time. But antelope, if I'm not mistaken, they won't jump a fence. They go under.
Generally,
right?
they can. I've seen it.
Okay.
They certainly can, but yeah, they try to go under.
But yeah, they probably don't do a whole lot of damage to fence, but I'm sure they do.
They do enough. Actually, the ranch Dad and I were hunting here just last month. Yeah, the cowboy out there was like, "Oh, I despise them. They make me do a lot of fencing, and I don't particularly care for it."
So, number one, they're destroying fence, and then they're eating their cattle's feed.
Yeah, they compete for the same food.
Yep.
Cows make me money.
They're grazers.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think they can, I've heard they can get into like your stack yards where your hay's, you store it at and damage that hay by defecating on it. But I mean, whether that.
Cows don't want to eat that.
Another reason why guys really don't like them. Same reason, why a lot of the people out west sometimes don't necessarily like elk because they get, especially in the winter months, they get in their stack yards, can destroy an entire year's worth of hay in a very short amount of time.
Well, yeah, if you go out to the west, a lot of times you'll see giant tall fences around a person's hay yard.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
of course. Yeah, you got to
keep stuff out.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. So we've identified.
Yeah, we're
okay,
only 45 minutes in.
We're going on an antelope hunt. We play this game in the car with the kids. I'm going on an antelope hunt, and I'm bringing a tent, and then somebody else has to say something. Anyway, going on an antelope hunt. Let's talk cartridge and bullet selection. That's something almost anything will do. However, there's some more nuance to it, and for the guy that really, really digs into it, this is the fun part. I love this part. I know we all do. We love leaning into, okay, what I'm going to find just the perfect balance of speed and bullet weight and blah, blah, blah. And I want to go around the table and just kind of hash out what you guys use as your consideration for antelope, cartridge, caliber selection, and what bullet in our lineup do you prefer to use for antelope hunting. I will say I started off my first antelope hunt. I built my first custom-built rifle, was a hunting rifle, and I built it in 7 mag, from tip to tip, custom everything, custom hand load. Definitely unnecessary.
Didn't need that.
Did not need that.
Me either, turns out.
As it turns out. But that was just, I built that to be my, I go hunting, I take this rifle kind of thing. But what do you guys go
so
through?
So naive of you.
It really was, yeah.
And we've all done it, right? We've all done the one gun, right?
Yeah.
But no, that's just not how we roll.
What do you guys prefer for antelope, and how do you walk through that?
You go ahead, Matt.
Golly. I mean, I've said it here before, I'm an ELDX guy, so it's going to be an ELDX bullet of some sort. I'm probably going to stick in that 6mm or 6.5. The antelope hunt I did go on, I shot that animal with a 143 ELDX out of my 6.5 284, because that gun, it shoots really good. I'm very experienced with it. I've shot it in a competitive platform by switching barrels. Then then the ELDXs shoot really well out of it, and I wanted to be able to have the capability, if the opportunity presented itself, to shoot at an extended distance, especially where we were going, in the Glen Rock area of Wyoming. There are a lot of, not mountains, but big rolling hills and open meadows and stuff like that, expansive range. So
I heard the wind blows there
a little bit. Yeah. So I wanted something, again, that did well in the wind, and I could potentially shoot it at, farther than traditional ranges. So.
Yeah. So that was a big consideration for you, was going to 6.5, the hot rod 6, or maybe even a 22 or a 25 cal. You went with the bigger bullet diameter just to pick up some drag benefit.
Yeah, and not ever being or have gone hunting for antelope, I didn't know, we're we going to be shooting off a tripod? Is it going to be fast and furious once we see it, or are we going to have a chance to stock up on it? So I just needed something that I could, if I needed to, shoot off tripod standing, which I ended up having to do to kill my antelope. Or lay down prone and get proned out and make from a higher vantage point and make a long shot. So just wanted something I could do a little bit
versatility
of everything with. Yeah.
So that's that was the progression. You were looking for the ultimate versatility. It's going fast, 6.5 284. You got the performance of the ELDX, match accurate, all range, and then you have the 6.5 to just pick up some BC over 6mm, over 25, over 22. Yep. Preston, you've got a puzzled look on your face.
I've been thinking.
Yeah.
You'll
do that from time to time.
First time we went on, I used a 300 Winchester Magnum.
Yep.
Didn't need that.
Remember you and I and Brock went down to Lincoln to pick that rifle up?
Yeah.
And then you did everything but almost
Yeah, the only
rebarrel
thing
it and
that
get a
was-
different action.
Yeah.
He had 3 pages or not more of load data from trying different
Well,
stuff
just
to get
trying
that
to
thing
see
to
if it's
shoot.
shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when everybody, if you've heard me gripe about the 300 Win Mag, that was one of them that I'm griping about, because I just tried eons and eons and eons of load combinations to finally come up with one thing it liked.
It likes fast powder, apparently.
Yeah, faster than traditional, powder typically used in a Win Mag. But anyway, I've done Win Mag. I've done 7 PRC, for those extended range shots. Guess how far that went down at?
180.
Yeah, like 200.
Okay.
Like nothing to it, right? I didn't even dial. Shot some with muzzle loaders. It's been a good time.
Which we'll talk about.
If I had to, if you're going to say, hey, pick a cartridge right now just for antelope hunt, you're going to call me crazy.
I do that all the time.
22 Creedmoor.
My man. Well, let's hash
Here's
that
the deal.
out.
I like a short action
Of course.
for an antelope hunt. I like a super lightweight rifle,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we'll go pound feet.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. A lot of
Sometimes
times
you
don't,
do.
but sometimes you do. And then I like the almost. No, I'm not going to say zero recoil, but I like the low recoil aspect of it,
Okay.
because there's a better chance you're not going to be able to get prone. Now you can always find a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's now, hey, set up your tripod, boom, I'm gonna see where that bullet went.
Okay, so you're going 22 cal. Now, specifically, we've got some options in 22 cal.
But you could convince me to go 6. I don't know.
I don't know. I like the 22. Let's talk bullets, though, because what are your options that you're looking at? Now, I think 2 things. Number 1, check your local regulations for is
Check the
22
regs.
cal
Yep.
legal in your area. Most states it is, but check on that. Number 2, this is not your grandpa's 22 caliber. We're not talking about shooting 55 grain Spitzers out of this thing. Let's talk about the 22 cal options for the 22 Creedmoor that you're thinking.
The answer is the 80 grain ELDX.
Yep. So the 80 grain ELDX is it's probably twice the length of a 55 grain VMAX or 55 grain Spire Point that you used to see in, say, a 223 or a 22-250. So you've got an ultra long bullet and a pretty darn good BC. You're really not giving much up from a drag perspective, but what you are gaining going to the 22 cal with those lighter weight bullets is just hot, nasty speed.
Yeah, it's fast and flat, and I'm not necessarily looking for flat, right? But that's a benefit of shooting it. But wind deflection's minimal with it, right?
Yeah, especially within that what I'm going to call normal range as you're
Sure.
going to shoot an antelope. We'd all love to shoot them at 50 yards or 100 yards or 150 yards or 200 yards. Sometimes that's not the case, and having something from 0 to 4, 0 to 500 that gets there right now, you're not going to have a ton of wind deflection regardless of what the BC is.
Yep. So that's the one I would pick is 80 grain ELDX Precision Hunter.
Yeah.
I feel like we all shoot a lot of Precision Hunter.
Yeah.
We talk about it a lot, but it's just
It
hey,
works.
if I need to go grab a box of ammo, I'll just grab that.
Yeah.
Life will be good. Another option though, and this is the one that was really kind of twisting my arm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, come this way, you come this way, and it was a 6mm Creedmoor.
Yeah.
'Cause I've shot it a lot. It was my match cartridge, for a long, long time. But also fast and flat. You're going to lose a little bit of quickness,
Mm-hmm.
Relative to the 22 Creedmoor, but you're picking up some BC.
Right. Yeah, but you do get
It's give and
ultra
take.
flat, great BC. I mean, it really is tit for tat when you're looking at 22 Creed, 6 Creed, even 6.5 Creed when you really think about it.
The 338 Advanced Rifle Cartridge. Purposefully designed for hard-hitting subsonic performance, the 338 ARC delivers 1.5 times more energy than the 300 Blackout subsonic. Featuring the 307 grain Sub-X bullet in the subsonic line and the 175 grain hollow point in Hornady Black. The big little cartridge that packs a punch. The 338 ARC from Hornady.
An important note, though, like I alluded to and kind of mentioned here just a moment ago, be prepared, do some practice at ranges past 200 yards. I'm not saying you need to practice at 600, 700, 800 yards, but I do think if you're going out on an antelope hunt, especially if it's one of your first hunts, if it's your first antelope hunt, definitely do some practice at the range from 1, distances further than 200, and 2, from positions outside of the prone.
Off the top of your pack, off the top of a boulder,
Tripod.
whatever.
Yep.
Because sometimes that grass gets, or that sagebrush is tall.
It's tall, yeah.
You just can't get proned out.
You can't, and that's 2 important things that I think will greatly impact your hunt when you get out there. If you don't have to shoot from the prone, if you can shoot from a tripod, which I'm a huge proponent of hunting with the tripod. We did a whole podcast on that. The tripod, the back of the pack, something like that to get you above the grass is huge. I have to agree with both of you guys on 6.5, 22, 6. I will say there's 25 cal
There's
that
a
needs talked about.
Heart.
Yep. So, I mean, the 257 Roberts would be an outstanding Antelope cartridge. Really would be. You know what would be even better is an Ackley improved
You know what?
version.
Little sidebar before we talk about the 25 Creedmoor is, we were fire forming our 257 Roberts in our improved chambers.
Mm-hmm.
That 117 grain SST,
wads them up.
It's unbelievable how good a
I
shot
don't know about
over
Seth's.
and over and over and over.
I don't know about Seth's barrel, but your barrel, that thing is impressive. How every time you bring a sheet from the lab, it's like
Just a wad.
yeah.
There's no space in between.
So,
the
No,
the 25 cal, suffice it to say, another outstanding option. And what you're going to hear as a summary to all this is basically there are a lot of outstanding options.
Yeah, you all
Almost
knew that
anything.
was coming anyway, right?
Yeah, but the 25 Creed or the 25-06 or 257 Roberts, a high-performance 25 cal is really, really good for those prairie-type hunts.
Yep.
You might have to airmail something. You might get a shot at close range, plenty of bullet weight, low drag, and the 25 Creedmoor really stands out with that 128 grain ELDX as just an awesome option for antelope hunting. 22, 25, 6mm, up to 6.5. Now, there are some honorable mentions in there as far as cartridges go that we didn't even talk about. Let's not forget the 6mm and the 22 ARC, the ARC.
Yeah.
That ARC family, just a powerhouse little cartridge. It really is. You've got a smaller cartridge case than the Creedmoors, but you're not giving up a ton of velocity. And we have ELDX and usually a monolithic bullet offering in those lineups. So if you wanted to hunt an antelope, and I've seen it, my good friend Tom, antelope hunted 22 ARC and killed that thing stone dead upon impact, just like everybody else was doing.
Shoulders. I believe that was
Yeah.
the ELDX too.
Came out the other side. So the 22 ARC, 6mm ARC, outstanding options. And then you throw in the whole smattering of what I would call the legacy cartridges. You never go wrong with a 308, 708, 243, even a 22-250 with the appropriate bullet.
Check your local regulations.
Yep, 220 Swift. There's a lot of legacy cartridges that are just fantastic. For me
I
personally,
don't want to gloss over the 22 ARC though.
Yeah.
And the 6 ARC.
yeah.
Because I love shooting them. Like, if you put an ARC barrel on one of my Origins, that's my favorite gun at the moment, right? It's just so easy shooting. And yes, we didn't mention them up front. It's because we're kind of going for the optimum, right?
Yeah, right.
Antelope cartridge. But I would not hesitate one bit to take either one of those.
No,
No.
on an antelope.
not at all.
no, even on some of those shots that are past your 200 yard, like those bullets are going to carry their velocity. They're going to expand really well. So for me, I'm choosing anything between 22 and 6.5, and I really don't see a necessity to go bigger than 6.5. I'm really not in the business of shooting stuff super far away anyways, where a 7mm would really benefit you just from a drag perspective. But anything between 22 and 6.5 is going to be perfect. I leave for an antelope hunt in a week from today. I'm taking the 22 Creedmoor. Yep, going to take that
No
80
reason not to.
grain ELDX. I know it shoots well. Gun's dialed in. And the way the rifle is particularly set up is the last antelope hunt I went on. I ended up, trying to go prone, putting a stock on these antelope, and we're belly crawling through the sage for what felt like an hour or so, just following them around because they were skittish, to say the least. And I finally ended up getting a shot opportunity at just over 300 yards. kneeling off my tripod. I had to get over this. It wasn't sage. It's just this clump of grass than where we were, and we were kind of hidden, and I was exposed just enough that I had good line of sight of the buck we were after. Clamped into the tripod, made easy work of it. So this rifle set up very similar, where I can go directly into the tripod with an arc clip. So 22 Creedmoor is what I'm personally taking, but anything between 22 and 6.5 is the go-to. Now, from a bullet standpoint, I'm taking the ELDX, and obviously, we've all said ELDX, but there are plenty of bullets in our lineup that are really good choices, namely that SST bullet. If you don't need a bullet that has extended range capability, the SST is probably the perfect Antelope bullet.
Yeah, I hate to put a number on things, like a yardage, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say for argument's sake or for making it easy.
Generalities.
If it's 400 and in, maybe 500 and in, you need to find out what velocity you're starting at, and then you can calculate and see how much velocity you have left at certain ranges. If you're doing 1,800 feet per second with an SST, bullet's going to work.
Yeah, the bullet's going to work really well. So, yeah, and like you said, it's a generality, but you generally somewhere between 350 and 400 is where that trade-off happens, where you should consider going ELDX over SST. But inside of that, those SSTs, you're going to end up with 50 to 60% weight retention. You're going to have really good caliber and a half at minimum expansion diameter down to 1,750 to 1,800 feet per second. Those bullets, I mean, that tip sets back, drives into that jacket. The jacket's nice and thin, comes open, still has an interlock ring, and it has a canneler. And that canneler and interlock ring work together to help hold that bullet together because the front of that jacket's so thin. So the SST, outstanding.
And they shoot well for eons.
They have.
Typically, they have quite a bit of bearing surface, compared to some of the modern bullets, and that just aids in getting them go down that barrel straight.
Yep. And the interlock, tried and true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And don't forget the interlock.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Especially if you're looking at some of those older or legacy cartridges like 243 or 308, like sometimes they just, depending on your rifle, that's what they shoot really well. So
100 grain interlock in a 243.
Oh, man.
If it doesn't shoot that, the rifle's broken.
Probably broken.
Yep. So the SST, the interlock, great bullet options. I have some preferential thoughts towards the ELDX, as you guys do. But I do want to bring up a different bullet that I don't want to say it's not recommended, because it will certainly work. However, I don't particularly care to hunt antelope with our CX bullet.
I've done it.
Yes, and I have never personally done it. I was on that hunt. I filmed it, and based on my experience on that hunt and going into it, we kind of knew it anyway. I think that bullet's just a little much for an antelope. Now, there are some caveats. The smaller you go in caliber and the higher your velocity goes, the more appropriate I think a CX bullet becomes on an antelope. But antelope aren't particularly tough to kill.
Yeah, they're not exactly wide either.
Right.
Right. So you don't necessarily need all of the penetration, like you would get out of a CX. But I've got no qualms with it. I'll be honest with you.
I was thinking about the CX2 as like a backup to an ELDX, but I was more leaning towards like there's not a lot of meat on those little critters, and it's delicious. I want to save as much as possible.
That's a concern.
If I'm getting a bull and a half diameter and getting a pass through with that, obviously going to do what it needs to do to kill the animal, but I'm saving the most amount of meat as I can. That's where I would go with the CX. But
and for me, the CX in a 22 cal, like our 22 arc with the 70 grainer, maybe the 6 Creedmoor
with the one
got a 90 grainer. The 243 with the 80 grain CX, something like that, where you have a smaller diameter and a really high muzzle velocity. You're really going to drive that bullet open fast. The experience that we had, it was a 6.5 PRC with a 130 CX.
20-inch barrel, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe 22.
I think it was 22, because with the suppressor it was quite long. But for me, that combination is what I would have taken on an elk hunt.
Yeah.
And so the antelope was exactly 300 yards, and you put that thing, we didn't gut it, we just quartered it. But I bet that heart had no top to it. I mean, that shot was perfectly placed, and it just didn't have that dramatic shock and awe that a lead core bullet typically has on something small like an antelope at high velocity.
Agreed. But I can count probably on one hand the times I've dropped animals.
Yeah.
Just because my instinct is to put it behind the shoulder ever since I've been 12,
Yeah.
So
You can still drop them that way, and I've seen antelope drop that way.
You still can, but more often than not, even with lead core bullets, I'm not necessarily dropping them, but they're not going very far either.
Yeah, and this one didn't go terribly far. Antelope can cover a lot of ground, 80, 100 yards, 120 yards.
And he did that in no time flat.
Yeah, and so it left us wondering, like, I swear I heard it hit. Did it hit the rock like they were standing by?
The audible difference between it and a lead core bullet was remarkable.
Oh, yeah, the CX made it.
I was like, did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah, that was a super fun hunt. And again, it's not an inappropriate bullet. I just think it's a little much. That combination is very much suitable for elk. And, I don't know what they weigh, 100 pound, 120 pound antelope.
Yeah, not a lot.
It just didn't give that dramatic effect that like an ELDX or an SST would have.
Obviously, there's some places you have to shoot them. And, if you're concerned about lead for whatever reason, they're a great option.
Yeah, they are. Or meat damage. That's another really good point because antelope, as small as they are, man, they're so tasty. You hate to ruin any of that. And our first antelope hunt,
like I did with my 300 Win bag.
Yeah, on our first antelope hunt, we brought home that antelope, and I was like, "Geez, that's not a lot." And I think I've shared this on the podcast, but for anybody listening, I kind of have a I don't know what you call it, ritual. I don't know. I do this almost every time I kill an animal and I'm bringing it home. And so I brought home that antelope. This is the first time I did it. Stopped at a gas station that was also like a shopette or something, had like a mini grocery store in it. Anyway, gallon Ziploc bag, 2 tenderloins, inner tenders in the bag, a little bit of orange juice, and in a pinch, this is what worked out great, taco seasoning packet. Now, if you got the time, cut a lime, squeeze the lime, put the lime in there, red onion, cumin, all kind of stuff.
I'm getting hungry.
Carne asada style. Anyway, in a pinch, little orange juice, taco seasoning packet, roll that baby up, threw it in the cooler. We got home. So that had been marinating there for 8-10 hours or whatever. Got home, fired up the grill, and had carne asada style. Cooked them at 500 degrees for 2 minutes aside. And my oldest son was 3 at the time. Sliced them up. They were gone before supper was ready. It was an appetizer. Well,
an adult human could probably eat one in one
Well, that's
bite.
where I was going with that was my 3-year-old and my wife ate the hefty majority of that. Like, there's just not a lot of meat there. So the CX, trying to reduce the amount of any bloodshot meat, could be a good way to go.
SnapSafe modular assembly system locks the thick steel exterior together in minutes anywhere in the home. Featuring a pry-resistant 3/16" solid steel door, 8 1-inch chrome steel live locking bolts, digital or mechanical locking options, 9-gauge steel exterior walls, 2300 degree Fahrenheit 1-hour fire shield protection, fully adjustable shelving, and a lifetime warranty. SnapSafe, a modular safe with welded safe security.
Now, this leads me into the next part of the equation. You choose a cartridge, almost any of them will do. You choose the bullet, educate yourself, choose the right bullet for the job. You go on the hunt, you have a massive breakfast, you go out in the field, take inventory of all your antelope, you shoot one. You got to, in my opinion, I want to talk about post-kill care.
I want to go back to breakfast before we go to post-kill care.
Yeah.
If you've made it this far into the podcast, you're a devout listener. Let's just be honest.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know about this until just a couple years ago. But one Judd Jarzinka, who's out antelope hunting right now.
Right now, Judd's on an antelope hunt.
In the duck blind, will make a breakfast burrito on his griddle.
Of course, standard duck blind.
Sausage, bacon, eggs, cheese, blah, blah, blah.
Tortilla.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
The first time he gave me a breakfast burrito out of his blind, he put pickles in it.
Mm-hmm.
Dill pickles.
Diced.
And I was shocked.
How good it was.
How good it was.
Really?
And now we do that.
We do that too.
Have you ever done that? Do you think it'd be gross? Let us know in the comments.
Well, I have to feel
it's
like
fantastic.
There's a couple things, we got some Polish heritage going on, so maybe that's what started that. we got a huge listenership from, I forget what we called it, but I'm going to call it the traditional Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, whatever. I think of pickles, good Polish heritage, Wisconsin.
I love pickles.
You know what? Maybe so. I have to think maybe that's common elsewhere too.
Let us know.
Yeah, I
want to know. Have you done it? Is it common?
First time I tried it, it was fantastic.
I'm going to have to try it now.
Yeah.
I can't believe you haven't.
No.
Judd gave all the credit to his mom, Susan. Been doing it. That's just, he grew up. That's what
Delightful.
you do. And it really is.
It really is.
Yeah. So, okay.
After care. Yeah.
So, post kill care. We've all got it down, but I feel like if you're going out on your first antelope hunt, this is something that you're really going to want to listen to, or really not necessarily listen to. This is something you're going to want to apply. You get that animal on the ground. Take photos. Make nice photos. And I say make, not take. Make a nice photograph out of it, because you can only do that one time. So take the time and set that up and do that right. Notch your tag before you do it. Then it's time to take care of this animal and ensure that you're going to get the tastiest meat that our country has to offer. What are you guys doing right out of the gate?
Well, number one, they have a very, very coarse coat.
Yeah.
So it traps heat very well because they have harsh winters.
Yeah, and hollow hair
helps it breathe in the heat, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know necessarily.
And then it insulates in the.
But it also comes off very easily. So if you're going to do a shoulder mount, do not get rough with. Don't drag them.
It's a little bit shocking how easily it comes out. But I've never shot one that I've shoulder mounted. But first thing I do is zip it down the spine, and I start taking hide down.
Yep.
So I do the gutless method. After I'm done getting back straps and all 4 quarters off, peel down, grab the
from the last rib. Yep.
But yeah, gutless method, and I get that thing at least off of the hide off of it, and then if I have all the time in the world, even on a hotter day, if the wind is blowing and you can get that rind, that meat to form a little bit of a rind, that'll kind of start the cooling process. But depending on how far away I am from the truck, I want it to cool a little bit, and then I'm getting it to the truck on ice.
That's a great point, Matt. Anything to add to that?
The only thing I did differently was the one I did shoot. I was fortunate enough to shoot a really nice buck, and I wanted to shoulder mount it. So got the guts out of it, and we weren't that far from the truck. 2 big bags of ice instantly in the body cavity, in the get it cooled off as quick as possible.
Do you know any taxidermists?
Oh, I know one. Good one, yeah.
Matt's uncle's a taxidermist.
Yeah, a great one.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah, so that was easy. Like I didn't even bring that thing into the office to show anybody, because on the way back we were
dropped it right
off Interstate 80, dropped her off. So it was great.
So
but just get it cold as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So
a couple things. The first thing, hearing you guys talk, it starts before you go on the hunt, and that is be prepared with some ice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you get in a lot of places. Safeway is a really popular grocery store, especially out west.
Delicious green salsa in there.
They do, yep. Anyhow, every Safeway I've ever been to, certainly the ones that I stopped in western Nebraska, they have a dry ice cooler. You can buy dry ice. And if you're going to be going on an extended hunt, maybe take a dedicated cooler that's just going to carry your animal home. You could put some dry ice in there. Or another hack, freeze milk jugs. Yep. Bags of ice do help. However, they tend to get really watery. You don't want to waterlog your meat. But long story short, be prepared before you go on the hunt. Make sure you've got a cooler and that the ice is ready for you. So that's a big one. The other thing, when I take part antelope, there's usually sagebrush around. If you're in the grasslands in Nebraska, probably not so. But you can use a game bag on a big piece of sage and lay your meat out as you get it. Is it as good from hanging from a tree to get air movement? No, but you can get it out
Probably
there.
Not a lot of trees.
And start it airing out a little bit to help form that rind like you're talking about. And use game bags. I've seen, and I've been guilty of this myself, like pillowcases and whatever. Just invest in a good, either get the disposable game bags, that they sell them everywhere. They sell them at Walmart, Sportsman's Warehouse, whatever. Kind of a one-time use deal that can breathe, antimicrobial, or invest in a set of reusable, washable, you can bleach them, whatever, game bags to keep all of the debris, everything else off the meat. So as you're butchering it up, lay it out, let it get some air over it. I wouldn't advise taking it hot off the animal, hot into a bag, right into a hot pack right away. I would try to let some air get to it before you do that. I don't have any scientific literature to back this up, but I just can't think that that's going to help your meat quality. Let it get some air, let it start cooling down. Use a good quality game bag, pack it to the truck, and make sure that you got ice waiting for you when you get there.
One thing I want to talk about too, and I'm not a podcast host like you are, so I don't know if I'll segue
Podcast
this very
co-host.
well. No, that's not true.
Producer.
I use a Havalon. For cleaning, for skinning, for all of it. I've seen a very, very nice gentleman, dear friend, retired now guide, skin an antelope with an old buck 110 in about 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So just make sure your knife is sharp, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that guy sharpens his knife all the time.
You will cut yourself less with a sharp knife. That is for sure. And yeah, I guess as far as field care goes, that's true. Make sure you're prepared. And that's just kind of a generality. Make sure you're prepared. But yeah, like you said, you'll pull that hair out on accident. You know what I mean? So use a sharp knife with deliberate cuts. You're going to do the least amount.
Are you rocking a replaceable blade?
So currently, I've been using, the Gerber Vital, the small one. Uses the Havalon 60A or the whatever Scalpel 60A blades. And I currently use that for almost everything. However, I have been transitioning to more fixed blade knives with much higher quality steel. And what I found works for me is to have both. I really like the replaceable blade for certain things. And I really like and luckily in this line of work, I've had the opportunity to get some really high-end steel on fixed blade knives that really take an edge and hold an edge. And so for me, I use both. I really do like a Havalon style knife. I do have a friend of mine in the editorial community, one of the more savvy men that you'll meet, lives in Alaska, very, very competent. And he killed a black bear, and he's several miles from his boat. And then he's 30 miles on a boat.
He's on a bit of an adventure.
He's out there.
To a place that could help him, and he was skinning a bear paw, right?
Very
and he buried all 3.5 inches of a Havalon into his thigh, took it right down to the handle. So luckily, he's in part of his previous life, he's got a lot of training in, first aid and that kind of stop the bleeding, et cetera, et cetera. He was able to handle that. And it really was just a minor inconvenience to his hunt, but that could end a hunt. That can end a life.
In the wrong place.
Yeah. So
be careful with them.
Yeah, very important. Yeah, to have a good sharp knife, especially with antelope. Delicate cuts, deliberate cuts, and just make sure you know what you're doing. Take your time. That's one of the more enjoyable parts for me, especially on a I don't know how to put that diplomatically or put it the right way, on a personal hunt that I'm going on just for me. Especially on a public land hunt or a hunt I'm sharing with my dad or my good friends, I really enjoy just making a cup of coffee and then just getting out all the tools, being organized, and just methodically breaking that animal down. And every single time I do it, I get just a little bit better. And I really find a lot of enjoyment in that. And the antelope you could have done in 3 minutes.
That year you get better.
Well, the first one,
Dad, you got to restart.
That's true.
I was going to ask you guys, how soon after you've got that animal homed, what's your process after that? Like, you're home, you're unpacked, get it out of the cooler. Now
on an antelope, it's already cooled down, on the ride home. So they're so small. I'm going to do it that day.
Yeah,
it'll be ready to go.
Get it off the bone.
It's in the vacuum bag.
Yeah.
When I pull it out of the freezer, it's ready to cook and eat.
Yeah. I'm 50-50. There is a loud voice in me that wants to get that broken down, packaged, vac sealed, perfectly done, and I want to do that really, really quickly. And then I want to go through my gear, clean my gear, replace anything that was broken, get my rifle squared away and put back in the safe and cleaned and go through and do a lot organized. And that's a very loud voice, and I can barely hear that voice because there's a much louder voice screaming at me that everything's on fire, and I'm behind, and I have this much work to do on my acreage, and I have this much work to do at work, and the kids have this and that and the other thing going on. So it's just a balance of, I prefer, and I do this with deer as well, to get home, get the animals, I'll put them in the freezer, and then maybe the next day, or I'll go through my gear, and then the next day, I'll get my primal cuts out and let them thaw for a certain amount of time, say 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, so that they're not frozen, but not completely thawed out either. And I break down meat so much more easily that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
When it's got some rigidity to
Yep.
it.
Yep.
And so for me, I don't leave anything on the bone. Preston, luckily, will leave some rear quarters whole and on the bone, and we do flip-flops, which is really nice.
I'm not going to do that with antelope anymore.
No, it's
No.
too good.
Turns out I just want to add, about 10% beef fat into my antelope grind, and oh my gosh, that's good burger.
Yeah, I wish
Well,
there was
and-
more
and
steaks.
My experience so far with the antelope that I've eaten, there's not a bad, like on a beef, there's more tender cut.
Round.
Yeah, there's more tender cuts, like the antelope, like so far.
It's all
Everything's
tender.
a
It's all
tender
good.
cut.
It's
Yeah.
all tender. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that is true. And if you take care of it right, you'll have.
But I did do the flip flop with that one, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased, obviously, perhaps, but that was the best flip flop I've ever done.
Antelope on a flip flop. It's so tender. It's got that hint of sweetness. It really is fantastic.
I'm hungry.
But I
Are we
do
done?
like to
I gotta
break.
get some food.
I like to break them down if I can into, whole roasts. Anything that can be cut into a
Yeah.
steak, I'm cutting into a steak from an antelope. And then anything that can't be a steak, I grind with a chuck roast, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I've actually had one antelope where I took to a processor. My gosh, that was phenomenal.
I had
they
one
didn't
as well.
charge a whole lot, because maybe it's just a small critter.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I thought the price was really reasonable, and it was all ready to go.
Yep.
It was so convenient.
I did that once as well, and I was hunting with a buddy, and we transferred the meat to me, and I had his whole antelope ground with 10 or 15% beef trim, and I eat a lot of meat. Everybody eats a lot of meat. It's not unusual, especially when you got a family or whatever. I try really hard to eat about a pound of meat a day, and it was so great to have a whole antelope just in 2-pound packages. It was convenient. I might do that again.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's coming up.
Yes. So on this upcoming antelope hunt, I'm taking the 22 Creed. I'm taking the 80 grain ELDX and mass prong height, although I really don't care. I'm just looking for one that really gets me excited. We didn't talk about muzzleloader hunting, but I do want to point out that sometimes, as always, that muzzleloader hunt might get you an easier tag. Now, states like Wyoming, they don't care about muzzleloaders, but Nebraska does. And if you're going to hunt antelope with a muzzleloader, I really think our ELDX is the bullet. And I say that, going back to our earlier conversation, they see you. They see better than you. They will see you. And if you can extend that capability, especially with the muzzleloader, from 100 or 150 yards out to 300, that's a huge advantage. You're going to notch more tags that way. And our 45 cal ELDX doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And that 50 caliber, if you're shooting a 50, there's not a bullet on the market that can touch it from a drag perspective.
Yep, and I saw the engineer of that bullet take his antelope. We had muzzleloader hunts. My gosh, that was 4 years ago at
yeah.
this point, I want to say. 2022, 2021. I don't remember.
Not a
but
mathematician.
Either way, they all run together now.
Yeah.
I don't even know how old I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, he took an incredible shot. It was, I'll just say it was about at the limit, but holy cow, it far exceeded my expectations of what could be done with an inexpensive inline muzzleloader.
Yep. And that elicited a Ryan Damon fist pump. Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, almost like an out.
If you know him,
Yeah.
hopefully he watches this. I don't know if he will,
Yeah.
but
All right, guys. Well, antelope hunting, one of the more fun hunts you can get into for somebody that's going to travel out west and do their first kind of spot and stock style hunt. It gets no better, in my opinion, cutting your teeth with antelope. And in the process of chasing antelope, you might bump up some mule deer. Log
Put that
that
in the
away
bank.
for maybe some point accrual. And then maybe strategy-wise, you could flip-flop. Every other year I try for antelope, every other year I try for deer, or whatever the point system looks like. Then you get really good experience, knowing the roads, access, etc. So doesn't get a whole lot better than antelope hunting. Is there anything else from you guys that you want to leave the listener with?
No.
Nope. I just want to get some food.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
we talked about cooking enough in this one. Holy cow.
Yeah, I
Well,
enjoy
we're
it.
talking antelope.
Antelope, it's so good. Yeah, awesome, guys. Well, I don't have anything else either. And in brief summary for the listener, almost any cartridge will do. We really prefer lead court bullets for the type of hunting that we do. High velocity works really well. They can see really well, so be really good with your stocks. Very optics intensive hunt. And don't forget to practice before you get out there at ranges past 200. And make sure you got ice in the truck waiting for you. That post-kill care going to be huge for some of the best tasting meat you're going to get off the prairie.
Get comfortable shooting uncomfortably.
Yeah.
Leave it with that. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed this episode all about antelope hunting and the cartridge and bullet selection for antelope hunting. Hope you don't mind that we divulged a little bit into some cooking and into some post-kill care stuff that we take really seriously around here. We appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.